So I need you to send an email. I need you to send an email out for me now. She's going to text me her email address, and I'm going to shoot it over to you so that she can get on. She's trying to dial on. All right. So, ladies, I don't believe that there is only one path for anyone. Throughout your lifetime, your sense of purpose will evolve. So give yourself permission. Listen, you may be going in one direction, and you may find out, listen, I only feel comfortable doing it this way, or this is something that really I'm not really comfortable with. So give yourself permission to evolve, and you can allow yourself permission, allow yourself time to anticipate the growth. So don't limit yourself, because if you say, I'm going to be a blogger, I'm going to be a singer, I'm going to be a photographer, I'm going to be a philanthropist, that may not be it. And so now you spent all this time, you done boxed your little self in. And let's give it up for Joy. Today's her birthday, y'all. She's on here. So let's be mindful of it, right, Joy? It's today's birthday. So let's be mindful that you don't have to, if people say, you may be good at this, you may be good at doing hair, your photos are great, or you write great, but that may not be it. And you may have been doing it for 5 years. You really could look back at your blog and see, listen, this is why I got nobody, because it's boring. Right? So you got to figure out, like, I'm really not good at hair. As soon as I started doing hair, like, I go back and look at the styles, like, it ain't really good. I may not be good at this. This may not be my thing. So give yourself permission. Remember that there is not only one path. There's multiple paths. So don't limit yourself. It might block you from seeing a bigger contribution. So hold on one second, guys. I'm sorry. Hold on, let me just forward this to her. So make sure if you guys are not getting emails, I think her email updated, Sophia, so she, it's JD's girl, she's not able to get on Charlotte. Okay, I got it. Send it to her. And just know, when I'm up here, like I can't send like emails out. Like I'm not gonna be able to do this. But anyway, y'all bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so hopefully she gets that. All right. So how you go about finding a sense of purpose? How you go about finding like your flow? How you go about finding your groove? It begins with you following your curiosity. Right? And we may be curious about multiple things. So when you think about like, how am I going to find my purpose? How am I going to really find a groove? How am I going to really find something that really is going to make me immensely successful? How many of you all want to live a freaking amazing life and be immensely successful? I'm talking about living the life of your dreams, waking up when you get tired, being able to pour into people if you want to. I was with Tanya today, and she said, one thing I forgot to share with you, Carla, is that I want to be of service to people. I want to give back. And so that's something that may take, multiple things. So remember how you go about it. First, you got to you have to begin with your curiosity. Whatever you're curious about and interest, whatever you are deeply curious about is worth exploring. So I want you all after this call to write down what you're curious about. It could be hair, nails, toes, masseuse, entrepreneurship, whatever you're curious about, write those things down. Whatever they are. Photography, you may have never even thought of it tonight, so write those things down. What are you most curious about? What are you interested in? Whatever that is, ladies, it's worth exploring. But the most important part is don't feel like you have to settle there. So don't feel like you got to settle there just because, you said, I'm curious. I'm curious about hair. I'm curious about whatever it is. If that's not it, just don't worry about it, because you're going to have multiple things on your list tonight, and it may change. And so when you find your groove, give yourself permission to do that. Give yourself permission to be okay with hitting the reset button. Give yourself permission to be okay with calling a friend or saying, what do you think about this? Or, I've been thinking about this. Or, you've experienced this. Shanae, you've experienced acting. What do you feel about it in my age? Or you've been experiencing blogging, or Lindria does photography. What do you think about this at my age? Or someone may do cooking. Alicia, she cooks. Like, how do you enjoy it? So remember that whatever the most important part is, that you don't feel like you have to settle on something quickly. Okay? It's when you give your all that you will experience a life of purpose. So whatever, a lot of us on this line, we haven't given our all in anything. We're so like segmented in this area, in that area. We're so afraid to do this because of what people may think about us. We're so afraid to try this because what somebody may say about us. We're so afraid to do this because we may fail. And so we just like, okay, you know what? We just stick our pinky toe in over here, pinky toe in over there, and we don't really give it our all. And you got to think about, what can I give my all to for just the remainder of this year? And if you're really bad at goal setting, for the remainder of this month, what can I give my all to? Exercise, eating healthy, prospecting for my business, going out of my comfort zone to set up appointments where if it's for photography, to put the most amazing blog, talk about something that I've always wanted to talk about, but have been so fearful of what people may say, right? Entrepreneurship, talk to people that you've never talked to before. Right? Start over. Give yourself permission to start over. Start a coaching. I know that we have some people that want to be coaches, or some people that want to be, want to have mentorships, right? Some people that want to do t-shirt designs. Whatever that is for you, give yourself permission to explore it. It's when you give your all that you will experience a life of purpose. It's something about walking in your purpose. It's something about really experiencing that. So whatever you're deeply curious about is worth exploring. It's necessary, ladies, to be bold. I was talking to Katrina today, and I'm sure she's cool with this, but I was talking to Katrina today, and she said, Carla, I just gotta not worry about, what if people are saying, oh yeah, she's bragging. But you gotta walk it out being bold, all right? So that's what it's really going to take. Hold on one second, let me just make sure Charlotte is trying to get in. Hey, Sophie, I'm gonna send you this email. She can't get on her phone. And if you can just send an email her. Hold on. She said she can't, it won't open. Okay, so it's about being bold. How many of you all feel like you've been a little more bolder since you've been around people that push you? How many people would say, if you're honest, would say, I pushed myself out there. Okay, Elle Boogie really has, seriously. Roxanne, I've heard her stories. How many people, who else can say that they've been, now I know, how many people can say they've been bold? Linder, since we met, have you been a little bolder? Linder said, I stay on this side of the street, and it's because the sun over here, and I'm not going to go on the other side. Now, I don't know why, but I'm not. So I want you all to know that if you want to give it your all, whatever you are deeply curious about is worth exploring. It's necessary to be bold in chasing your interests. It's okay to bounce around, but you don't want to be all over the place. Follow what you're curious about, what interests you. It's okay to be bold. It's okay to try new things. It's okay to look within and discover what is important to you. So I want you all to write these tips down before I roll the call over, right? I want you all to write these tips down. This is how you find your groove, ladies. The first thing you have to tell yourself is, I am unique, right? I am unique. Guess what? There are 7 billion people walking in this earth. And guess what? You are unique amongst them. How many of us know none of us are alike? We don't look alike. We don't talk alike. We don't sing alike. Our offices aren't alike. Like, we don't dress alike. So we are all unique, okay? I want you all to write this down. If that's true, perhaps our purpose involves being true to our unique selves, right? Remember, I always say this. You against you. You got to make sure you win. You have to just make sure that you win. And that's all you are responsible to do, is just making sure that you win. So remember, there's 7 billion people walking in this earth, and you are unique amongst them. If that's true, perhaps our purpose involves being true to our unique selves. And so the main drive of humankind is our desire to experience and practice personal freedom. So whatever frees us. Just imagine walking in your purpose, being free, walking through life, not worrying about what he thinks, she thinks, they think, my friends think. You really walk in this thing called life out. And it is our desire to experience and practice personal freedom. Guess what, ladies? Being ourselves fully and pursuing our own path, unencumbered by conformity or fear, because we try to live our lives based on what other people think. Like, we think that they don't want us to pursue this entrepreneurship, or we think they don't want us to pursue this other type of career. And so okay, Charlotte's got on. And so we put ourselves in this box because of, we're trying to conform with the ways of the world, or what we think are the ways of the world, or we're conforming to the safe side of the street, Lindsay, because We are fearful that if we go on the other side of the street, people may laugh at us. People may like, who do you think you are? How dare you come in my territory? And so we got to make sure that we understand that we're going to get into a habit of practicing personal freedom, doing what you want to do, all right? Doing what you want to do. The next thing is you have to tell yourself that I'm not alone. The first thing was I am unique. The second thing is I am not alone. You are unique, ladies, but remember those 7 billion other people, there's 7 billion other people, they have been put here to be unique as well. So they are also a reminder to take your eyes off yourself and help others achieve their own personal freedom, right? Telling people it's okay to be you. It's possible to live the best life. And I say that over and over and over because regardless of where you are in life, it is possible for you to have the life of your dreams, to be the best at whatever that is, whatever your craft is. It's possible for you to have that. And don't forget that. You are not alone. So perhaps the universe is saying you are unique, but you're not alone. So serve others. It's something about service. Help people. Don't try to keep all your secrets, to yourself. You pass it on and you're going to be blessed because of it. So pass it on. You are not alone. There's 7 million other people. So they were put here to be different. They were put here for you to learn from them. They were put here for you to coach them, for you to help them through life. The next thing is, this is really, really, really good. Remember this. We are remembered for only 3 things. I thought this was like an aha moment for me. We are remembered for only 3 things. The first thing is our character. The next thing is our relationships. And the third thing is our contributions. The first thing is, these are the things that we remember from. When we leave this earth, we remember for 3 things. When people talk about us, the first thing is character. The second thing is relationships. And the third thing is contributions. So perhaps the hint we are receiving from our generations past is to live our lives as people of good character. So it's important to have good character. Like, it is important to have good character, right? You don't have anything else, but you want to have a high level of character, a high level of integrity, right? One decision can ruin it for you forever. So it is good to have good character. It's good to seek to connect with others through love and compassion. And it's good to contribute meaningful things and ideas. So you don't want to walk this life out being selfish. That's crazy. So remember, we are remembered for only 3 things: our character, our relationships, and our contributions. So I'm going to give you a couple more tips, and I'm going to turn the call over. And so this is really going to help you get into your groove. I want you to practice these principles as much as possible. And the first one is mind your language. Mind your language, because your words create your reality. And so you got to mind your language. If you describe your situation as a mess, a nightmare, guess what? You're going to have a freaking nightmare. Okay? So you got to mind your language. If you describe it as exciting, it will shift your emotions. That's it. Like, it's all emotional, y'all. We have the power to handle all of this. Our life is not what happens to you. Guess what it is? It's how you respond. And so you want to mind your language. So don't talk about your problems using dramatic language, but describe your situation in a way that places you in a position of power. Remember to take your power back every single day. Take your power back. Don't let anyone else take your power, regardless of situations, breakups, makeups, whatever it is. Don't let anyone take your power, right? So remember, if you're describing your life as this disaster, that is what you're going to get. If you're describing your life in abundance, that's what you're going to get. There's nothing different with any of us on the line, right? But our work ethic, our belief level, and our confidence level, okay? So the next thing you want to do is you want to align your wheels. This is a good one. You want to align your wheels. When you get a car, you get regular tune-ups. It goes farther on less gas, and it rarely breaks down. So if you keep up the maintenance, right? Don't you all feel that it works better if you keep up the maintenance? So when a car gets regular tune-ups, it goes farther on less gas and rarely breaks down. We aren't all that different. You got to take time to refuel and realign your thinking so you can handle life's trials more with ease and less stress. So think about your car getting tuned up. If you didn't put gas in, what would happen? You a freak to be like me and run out of gas last Tuesday, and I still have yet to figure out why I run out of gas so much. Because my Volvo is saying you are like 10 miles to empty, and that is not true. So anyway, what happens when your car runs out of gas? Like, you stop moving. So think about when you get gas, you get your car washed, you put your air freshener in. How many of us be pumped? We get a new air freshener. We get air freshener. We be leaning in like what? And don't let the arm roll get like. I go back and put extra on mine because I want to be shining when I go down the street. And so that's the same thing you have to do to your life. You have to refuel. You have to realign. Think about when your car is shaking, right? You're driving straight, but it's going over to the right. And you have to get a front end alignment. That's the same thing you have to do with your life. You got to align your wheels. So as you're going through this walk and you're thinking to yourself tonight, what are the things I'm curious about? What are the things I want to kind of accomplish or explore before the end of the year? You may want to be a speaker. You never thought of that. You may want to be a motivational speaker. You never thought of that. You may want to be a coach. You never thought of that. You want to be you could just decide tonight, I want to be like a 7-figure earner. You've never, thought of it. Like, I want to have my own t-shirt line. Like, I just want people to listen to me. You may never have thought people may listen to you. You may have something to say. People may want to listen to you. So the next thing is you don't let your problems be your identity. Don't let them become your identity. So don't let your problems be your identity. No one likes to have his or her business fail. How many of us get stressed out? The business fail, we don't get a role, someone drops out of our business, someone breaks our heart. All those things happen, but although our setbacks can shape us, they don't have to define us. Although our setbacks, they can shape us, but they don't have to define us. So when life deals you a tough blow, be vigilant about not letting your adversity become your identity. So you can't let your adversity become your identity, right? You cannot let your adversity become your identity. Remember, you have setbacks, but you can't let your setbacks shape you. You got to let them define you, not shape you. You got to let them define you, okay? And it's something else I want to train on this, and my coach told me this, and it was like, the reason that things happen. And it's so amazing, ladies, when you come out of it, right? So we're going to hear a young lady that came out of it. See, while you're in it, you can't talk about it. Really the way you can talk about it when you're out of it, right? And so when you come out of what you're in, what the things that you're exploring, things that you're curious about, you're going to have an amazing story to share with people, potential books, potential sessions, right? Because you may be in a place, right? But when you come out of it, Zori says, I'm going to make it to Broadway. She can now tell us her walk, like authentic walk, because she came out of it. So think about this as far as your process. But when you get out of it, your story is going to bless so many people that may be right there. And so this is awesome, and it's a great segue. I didn't even think of that. But the person that's going to be next, she's out of her story. Like, this is real. But there was a time she couldn't do what she's doing tonight because she was in it. And you can't do it while you're in it. You got to wait until you're out of it, right? And some of us are trying to tell a story. Are we in it? We crying. We slurping. It ain't making no sense. We think, like, what's she doing? Is she, like, call us back? Okay. So work on it, pray on it, and just get back with us because we have no idea. It's not as impactful when you say, listen, I was here. But I walk this out every day. This is how I did it every day. And when I came out of it, this is who I am. So that's big. So you can't let your problems be your identity. And then the next thing is you got to lean on your tribe. You got to lean on your tribe. The stronger your support network is, the better you will cope with challenges and the faster you will recover from them. We're your tribe here. You can tell us whatever you want. We don't have anybody spreading gossip in this group. This is a safe place, right? So you can't be too proud and say, look, I need help. What do you all think about this? This happened to me. What do you all think about this hairdo? Do you all think I'm real fat with Spanx? And we'll say, yes, not yet. It ain't time for them yet. Just keep pushing, but you still in your story. Now, you got to come out before you put them pants on. And then you'll understand it because it's going to come from a place of love, all right? And so you got to lean on your tribe, and you can't be too proud to reach out and ask for help because you're afraid of appearing weak. Like, I don't need nobody. How many people just don't like to ask for help? Like, I just don't like to ask for help. Like, I don't need no help. Like, I'm good, right? JD, you said no. So yeah, so you don't want, because a lot of times we don't want to be appear as to being weak or needy. And the last thing is you got to choose optimism. You got to choose optimism. Just because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel doesn't mean it's not there. just because you can't see it. See, that's the promise. Just because you can't see the light, it doesn't mean it ain't there. And you got to keep going. Our hardest times can be the catalyst for greatness. Our hardest times, when we go through the hardest things in our life, that can be the catalyst for greatness. It can be introducing us to an inner strength that otherwise lies dormant. See, sometimes, things happen to us and we need it to trigger us, to push us. Things happen in our life and we don't know why until when we out of the story. We don't know, like, this is why this happened. So I could tell Nindra this, or I could tell JD this, or I will be able to share it to the mastermind. This is why I went through it. So that I would have a testimonial so that people could learn from it and people can become better because of it. Like, I didn't realize that. So that is where you want to choose optimism. Just because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, it doesn't mean it's not there. You just can't see it. But if you push harder, if you push a little faster, and if you don't quit, magic is going to happen when you get there. And we're going to celebrate you, and you're going to be like, I made it, right? It's easy to quit, but if you choose optimism, it is such an amazing thing. So I'll recap them real quick. The first thing you want to do is tell yourself that I am unique. Okay, I am unique. The second thing is you want to tell yourself that I'm not alone. I am not alone. The third thing is you want to acknowledge that we are remembered for three things. And those three things was character, relationships, and contributions. The next one is you want to mind your language. This is how you're going to get into your flow, your groove. You want to mind your language. Your words create your reality. And then you want to align your wheels. You want to align your wheels. The next thing is you don't let your problems be your identity. Our setbacks can shape us, but they don't have to define us. Remember that, right? When life deals you a tough blow, be diligent about not letting your adversity become your identity. Like, I want you all to get that. The next one is you got to lean on your tribe. Like, you have a tribe here. Some of you all, I've seen you grow so much because of your tribe, because you were intentional about being open. Some people in the group are not as open as others, but you see they have breakthroughs when you allow people to love on you and you share things that you've been experiencing or you try new things. So that's what you want to do, is lean on your tribe. And the last thing you want to do is choose optimism, because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Even though you can't see it, doesn't mean, listen, it's not there. It doesn't mean that it's not there, right? So I'm so excited to have our next guest on. And it's great because I just told you all that my coach told me this. And I didn't even, as I was preparing for this, I didn't even think of this. But your story is great once you're out of it. And this young lady that I'm going to bring on, she's out of her story. Like, she is out of her story. Like, she's out of it. And so this month, October, is Breast Cancer Awareness. And her story is amazing. I remember I was telling her that I was at an event and she said she can't believe it. But I remember because it was years ago. And I remember her sharing her story. I was like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. This is all that happened. Da, da, da. And I never forgot her story. And I'm not going to steal her thunder, but you all know Vonda Jones is going to share with us, answer questions. We got the questions, so we're going to keep you all muted until we open it up, right, Vonda? Until we open it up. So I'm going to let her go. And this should be great. I want you all to take notes, and then we will have time for questions and answers. And because you all put questions in the group, she is then going to answer those questions. And I'll tell this story really quickly. I'll tell them, because I told you, but I didn't tell them. So my mom found a lump in her left breast and her right breast. So this Tuesday, she had them out. So they told her that they were, they said there was just cysts, no need to worry. She found them herself, she had them removed. So she showed me, I went there, of course, to see her. She was like, they had them removed. So yesterday she found out, or today she found out that they're cancerous cells. So they removed them, but they have cancerous cells in them. So then on top of that, they found that she has a mass on her lung, that she has pneumonia, on it. And then they found a lymph node on her kidney, right? So I'm going to go there tomorrow. I'm going to go there tomorrow, and I think they're going to do radiation. She was supposed to have a biopsy tomorrow. They're going to forego that. And so they said right now she just needs radiation. It was really, really small. So it's very, 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 very important that we're intentional, right, about our health. And I just want to call her and just go off. Call my brother, go over there right now. And they're like, okay, wait a minute. How you tell us calling all these shots in you 3 hours? But I said, I need everybody over here right now. Y'all see what she's doing. Make sure she's sitting up. I told her don't take no medicine. How am I tell her when she in pain? Don't take no medicine. I said don't take nothing. We need to know exactly where the pain is coming from, and just want you all to keep her in your prayers. But I'm going to go up there in the morning and see what we're going to do. And I was telling Vonda, so I think she starts radiation 10. My sister's on a cruise, so I'm stepping in. I'm the last leg, the worst one to come, because I'm probably fat, flatline, and she not. So I don't even know what's going to happen because I'm probably going to be like laid out. So.
All right, Carla, I'll be in Hampton this weekend. So.
Yeah, I will be there in Hampton too. I will be in Hampton, so I will keep you posted as to what you need to do and tell us what we need to do. Because I would be like, Vonda, let's come to the hospital. But anyway, all is well. Her spirits are amazing. And see, it's not what happens to you. It's how you respond. And she's really, really responding well. I think she's nervous. And the doctor said, listen, we're going to give you an appointment. She said, just take your time. She said, if y'all got something in January, I'm good. I'm open in January. I'm thinking, no, she'll be open this week. And so sometimes, life gives us lemons. We just got to make lemonade. And it's some hard lemonade. And so we're going to be right there with her. And so with that being said, Vonda, I turn it over to you. Thank you for sharing with us tonight. Thank you, ladies.
Hey, no problem. First, I want to thank Carla can you guys hear me? Oh, okay. All right. I just want to say thanks, Carla, for allowing me to share with you guys tonight. Some of you know my story just from me personally before I joined the group, and then some of you guys have come to know it as I've been part of the group. So I definitely wanted to thank Carla for giving me this opportunity to share with you guys tonight. I definitely want to thank you guys for your questions. There were a couple of questions I was hoping that would be asked, so I was really excited to see those to be able to share with you. And also, before I get started, a couple of people pinged me about my picture with the boxing gloves. So I just want to give a shout out to my photographer and makeup artist, Clark Bailey. Photography is responsible for that photo. That photo was taken right as I approached my 1-year mark from being finished with all my treatment. So it was just a personal testament to my mindset. A lot of the points that Carla hit on tonight, for me in this process, one thing that motivated me throughout it, I'm a avid Maya Angelou reader and fan, and she has a quote that says, I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. And so that was my driving force the entire time when I found out that I had breast cancer. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. It was in 2009. I was diagnosed 3 weeks shy of my 39th birthday. So technically they count age 38. The ironic part of this story is 18 months previously, my dad had just finished treatment for prostate cancer. So I now had to pick up the phone and tell him that his baby girl had a very aggressive form of breast cancer. And he was like the last person I told because I just was not really prepared to deal with his reaction. And I didn't want him to relapse because he had a few more rounds of chemo and not chemo, he did radiation. And I wanted him to get through that successfully. And so for me, long story short of it, my previous life, I was a hospital administrator, worked very, very long hours. The month before, I kind of noticed some changes with my breast, but I didn't think anything of it because I was a diehard Pepsi drinker. And, I'm from the South. We like our Pepsi's ice cold. So I had to get my caffeine and my Snickers and all that good stuff in, and working late, not really eating right, that kind of stuff. So really didn't think anything of it. And fast forward another month goes by, have my cycle, wait a few days, I do my breast self-exam, and my life completely changed before I even got out of the bed. I thought I was having a heart attack because the pain was that excruciating. I couldn't get up out of the bed without the pain shooting from the front of my chest to around my back. So immediately I start doing the ABCs of a heart attack, trying to figure out, oh God, I'm having a heart attack. I work in cardiology. This cannot be happening to me right now. So calm down. I was like, I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna go ahead and go to work. Everything's good. You know, I'm like, whoo, 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 all the way to the shower. So I said, you know what? While I'm in here, let me go ahead and do my self-exam and make sure nothing's going on. But of course, before I could even complete just one swipe, I noticed that that same spot that I noticed the month before was significantly larger. And the tears just began to well up in my eyes. I think I already knew, but I said, well, let's go see if that's what it really is. So I got an appointment, had a mammogram, had never had a mammogram before. I was only 38. Talked to my doctor. She said, well, it's time for your annual anyway, so come on in and let me check it out. She did a clinical breast exam and her facial expression changed. So right away, I was like, this is not good. Kind of like in my mind, it sounded like the theme from Jeopardy, but it was really happening. And she said, this is totally different for you. Let's go ahead and get a mammogram. So we did the mammogram on a Wednesday. They sat me down. They said, wait right here. I was like, this is going from worse to worse. You know, kind of like Carla said, I wasn't speaking nothing positive. I was a basket case. And they said, well, come back on Friday. We're going to do a biopsy just to make sure it's not that there isn't it's not a cyst or just something fluid filled and we can drain it. And I take that back. I had a mammogram before. I had a baseline mammogram at the age of 36 because that's just what my doctor did. She was very attuned to the way our breasts are typically made up as Black women. We have very dense breasts, and I'll talk a little bit about breast density so you can understand what that is. But literally, that mammogram that day was 2 years to the day of my baseline mammogram where they could definitively tell me that, yes, it was cancer because it was that much of a change. And so from that biopsy, within the span of 2 weeks, I was in surgery having a venous port put in and my sentinel node biopsy to make sure that it hadn't metastasized because they were completely convinced that it had already spread beyond my lymph nodes into other areas of my body. And at that point, I went into, okay, this is what it's not going to do. It's in one spot. It hasn't spread. You can't tell me that. They're like, well, you know, Ms. Jones, we have to go through. I said, go through what you have to go through, but I'm telling you, no, I'm not accepting that. So you kind of go into that fight or flight mode because it's very overwhelming when you don't have a family history of breast cancer. There's so many things going through your mind. As a younger woman, being diagnosed, I'm like, okay, haven't been married. I don't have any children. What is going on? I could not figure this thing out. So I went through 8 rounds of chemotherapy, which took me the entire summer to go through after a little arguing with the doctor that I was insisted upon still going on vacation. Even though I was on chemo, I made her schedule it around vacation. And she said, where are you going? I said, we're going to the beach. She said, you can't be out in the sun because you can get a 3rd-degree burn. I said, well, then tell me how to wrap up because I'm going on vacation. So we scheduled the chemo and everything around the vacation. But essentially I had was told that I had triple negative breast cancer. And a lot of people think that that's the good kind. No, breast cancer is a good kind. So whatever you do, never say that to anybody. Oh, you have the good kind of breast cancer. No, that is the worst of the diagnosis. It is the most aggressive and it is most likely to kill you because they don't have a drug therapy to treat it because your hormones are not involved in the cancer mutation. So the genes are not expressed through your hormones. You have two women, we make up 2 different types of hormones in our body. We have what they call a HER2. We have a HER2 and an ER, estrogen and I forget whatever the H thing is. It's not coming to me right now, but Typically, you may hear some women say that they take tamoxifen or something like that for a long-term surveillance. But for me, I can't take anything. I can't take anything with hormones in it. And, I have to be very careful about what I do and what I am being exposed to. So fast forward, they didn't think that the chemo was going to be effective. So they had me do chemo first. They didn't want to do the surgery because they couldn't guarantee they were going to get what they call clear margins, meaning that there's at least a certain area around the tumor that is free of cancer cells. So that's what they like to see when they do go in. So I did the chemo. The hair situation is real. It is very traumatic to lose your hair. I was completely bald, and I was trying to pull up the picture so I could show it to you guys, because a lot of people they find it very hard to believe that I lost all my hair, but I was looking like an 8-ball. And that was very traumatic for me because in my family, everybody has long hair or whatever. And my dad was just all the pieces about my hair being gone. And I think after that, it just became like, okay, Dad, I'm over it. I just want the cancer gone at this point. So we went through that, and lo and behold, after the second treatment, the tumor responded and it started to shrink. So essentially, we went through chemo. I did a lumpectomy with reconstructive surgery. Initially, they told me I was not a candidate for a lumpectomy. They told me that I'd have to have the breast completely removed. And I argued with the doctor about that. I said, that is not my story, and that's not how I'm going out. So I told him, if one has to be smaller than the other, I'll take it. We're not cutting it off. I was adamant about that. So lo and behold, fast forward, keeping my faith right along the entire way. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was easy. There were nights that I literally cried because I was in so much pain. I thought I was dying. Literally didn't think that I was going to wake up the next day, or afraid to go to sleep. And then I just had to really get myself together, because it's important, like Carla said, to have the right tribe around you. You got to have the right people around you. If you don't, then your mind is the first place that will take you captive in any situation. So if you allow yourself to always be put in that position where you're getting into self-pity, or you are thinking the worst, then the worst is going to come. It's just like, you have what you say. You create your own environment. So I had to start speaking to the cancer. I would never say I have cancer. And any of my friends that help take care of me, they'll tell you they never heard me say I have cancer, because I refuse to own it. I'm like, I'm too busy to deal with this. Can we just get through this process? Because at some point it was like, it's either me or the cancer, and I'm determined to stay here. And so that's the mindset that I had. So we got through that. We did the radiation, and here I am today. I am now, as of October 19th, which is coming up, I will be 8 years cancer-free, sitting here in front of you guys tonight. So I'm really, really excited about that. And just for visual purposes, to show you the size of the tumor, I have an avocado seed here in my hand. This is about 3 centimeters. That's the size of the tumor that they removed from my breast. So eventually, as the chemo did its thing, this thing became smaller and smaller and smaller, to the point where I think my doctor said what they removed to get the clear margins was probably about just a little bit smaller than a lemon seed. I'm like, well, Faith said I had to have the size of a mustard seed, so I'm going to claim it as a mustard seed. So that's how I felt about it. So that's where I am today. And I made a promise to myself, like, God, if you get me through this, then I'm going to get out there and be a voice, because I want to know why. Why is it that Black women are in a position where we are educated, we're working, we're taking care of our families, but we are dying at a much higher rate of this disease? And I know that was one of the questions that someone posed in the group. They wanted to know, is like, why does it seem like it's happening so much? And it's a reason for that. And this is the thing that that I've been having conversations with Komen and American Cancer Society and National Breast Cancer Coalition and being on the Hill. These are some of the things that we are talking about. We are not represented when it comes to care and studies and research. We don't participate in it because as a community, as Black people, we automatically have an inherent distrust of the medical community. Reason being, Henrietta Lacks, the Tuskegee experiment. We don't trust doctors. Well, we got to change that conversation because, see, you know your body better than your doctor. You know when there's a change. You know when there's something wrong. See, as Black women, we're good about taking care of everybody else. We will go to the hills, drive ourselves in the ground, but we sometimes will know that we have that inherent knowing that something is wrong. We cannot delay it. You got to go see your doctor because, again, this is a disease. Right now, I'm finding that as Black women, we are being diagnosed in much greater numbers before the age of 40, and often the story is the same. I have no family history. It's triple negative breast cancer. It's a different, it's not invasive. It's a lobular, which means that it didn't start in the milk ducts. It started in another area of the breast, and it's expressed itself in other ways. Sometimes it can erupt through the skin, and sometimes it can spread beyond the lymph nodes, which is what you'll hear people say that, well, it's metastasized or it has spread to other areas. So there are some instances. I have girls in my group, one young lady that was diagnosed at 24 in one breast. All she had to have was radiation. 2 years later, it came back in another breast as a totally different type of breast cancer. So when I was finishing treatment, she was going into chemo. And we're still tight to this day. We're a very tight-knit community, and a lot of the girls in my group have the same mindset that I do. When we go and talk to other people who are being diagnosed, we're sitting in front of providers, letting them know, no, you have to change your narrative. You have to change your approach when you're dealing with Black women. You have to find a way to make it so that we understand what you're saying. And I'm telling you, if nobody else tells you, when you're with your doctor, you're in control. Just everybody say that, I'm in control. You're in control. You are in control of the visit because most doctors want you to ask questions. It's the patients that don't ask questions most of the time that are not compliant with instructions. And so for my platform, my thing is, I want to disrupt the disparities in care. And that's why it seems like it's so much more prevalent, like you're hearing about it, so much more about Black women being diagnosed and dying because the access to care isn't there. And you probably think, what do you mean by access to care? I have insurance, I have this. Well, typically, tell me if you've had a mammogram, and just by show of hands, when you call to make your appointment, how many of you were given at least 3 months out or 2 months out, 6 months out, 8 months out? That's a reality. That is a very sad reality, and that should not be the case. One of the other questions that you guys have for me is, what are some of the causes or the risk factors? Well, your number one risk is being female. So let's just get that out of the box. Being female alone puts you at risk for breast cancer. The second part of that really has to do with your genetic makeup. It's all in the biology of it. Some of us have an inherited disposition for it. Some of us don't. But if you look at the historical, going all the way back to the slave trade, most of us have ancestry in Africa. And that is also an area, if you look at some of the statistics and the rates, the incidence rates in Africa are astronomical and more prevalent for triple negative. So most of us that are falling in that triple negative category, we have some form of ancestry trace back to Africa. And then some of the other things that they say are risk, again, are like like I said, the gene mutations. You may hear a lot of people talk about BRCA1, BRCA2. That's a form of the gene mutation. If you have a first degree family member, and a first degree is your parent, your sibling, your grandmother who has had history of a breast cancer, that puts you at risk. Your age, if you started your menstrual cycle very early, that could be a cause. While they won't come right out and say it, but some forms of birth control can lead to breast cancer. And a lot of us, if we had early onset menstrual cycles, we had lots of stuff going on, it was the first thing they do to try to help you regulate it. They give you birth control pills. I see a lot of head nods. I was in that category. The other thing is excessive, they'll tell you excessive alcohol consumption, smoking, childbirth can bring it on. There's some women who have been pregnant and actually their babies have saved their lives because the breast cancer began to express itself once they became pregnant. Just some of the things. I'm trying not to like overwhelm you guys with a lot of statistics that can put you at risk. So I just want to stop there before I go too much deeper to see if there are any questions just in terms of some of the risk factors or just some of the basics about breast cancer. And you can just unmute if you have a question.
You have to click it yourself, so you can just unmute and then we can hear you.
Yeah. Any questions?
I have a question. So say for example, like me, I don't know, I think you liked my post about my scare that I had when I was 16.
Is it painful or can you tell?
Yes.
Right? Yes, that was a great question.
The other thing about that, I have a question too, is because and also I didn't know how to like type it up or word it. Can like trauma, like say if you get hit in your chest, or or like if you have an accident, if like especially if you already have lumps, like I have the cysts and stuff, like can trauma also kind of upset the cells? And so yeah, okay,
so great questions. Trauma is a myth, and the reason I say that is because breast density can hide injuries. And so like if you have scar tissue sometime from that injury and you have dense breasts, it's difficult for them to distinguish between the two. So like even though I've had treatment, I have a couple of things going on in my breast, particularly the breast that was treated. My breasts are fibrocystic and I have scar tissue and they're dense. So I get a 3D mammogram, and most insurance companies now will pay for 3D, but if not, go ahead and pay your extra $50, $57 and have the 3D mammogram done. Highly recommended. But trauma can, because if you have like any type of scarring in that area, that's probably why you may hear them say that injuries will cause it to flare up. It doesn't cause it to flare up. It can disturb the cells, but the difference is that when they are doing your examination and you have scar tissue, it's a little hard for them to distinguish between that. Does that make sense? And then your other question was, is it painful? Can you really feel it? Well, what I would say is if you've been doing your monthly breast self-exams, and Carla told me I could pull out the boob tonight. I know y'all looking like, what? If you're doing your monthly breast self-exams, you know what your boobs feel like. So I'm going to sit up just a little bit. This is what I want everybody to do. You got two hands right here, right? This is your weapon. These are your weapons. Just take them and do like this. Now you got on your bra or whatever. Okay, see, we're getting started. We're getting started. That's a start. Just get to know you. Know your girls. You carry them. They go with you everywhere you go. I don't care if you got a AAA cup. You got some boobies. Okay? And the other thing I want to tell you, men think that they don't get breast cancer. baby, that is a lie from the pit of hell. Because if you want to blow a guy's mind, you tell them that Shaft is a breast cancer survivor. Richard Roundtree is a breast cancer survivor. As cool as he is, he's a breast cancer survivor. I know a young man that's 36 years old and had a mastectomy when he was 28, and he is not ashamed of it. So it is not uncommon. Men got breasts just like we do. Ours just look a little bit better. That's all. But you know what your breasts feel like. You know when you're on your cycle, they're fuller. The other thing I tell people, before you get a mammogram, lay off the caffeine. Lay off the caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant. Just like, Mac was putting that little bit of those plumping lip glosses. As much as I love Mac, it's got too much caffeine in it. That's why your lips got that little tingling sensation going on when you use it. But lay off the caffeine, like a week before you go to your mammogram. Lay off the caffeine. Watch the salt. Look at those things. Keep the water going. If you're that apprehensive about taking it, what I usually tell people when they tell me a mammogram hurts, I said, no, a pap hurts. A mammogram is uncomfortable. And it's over so fast. But, and I'm sorry, Shanae, I know I segue, but I'm very passionate about that, as y'all can probably tell. But in terms of pain, if you are experiencing pain in a breast, you do need to be examined. So you can, and I'm going to get into this because I believe, was it Zuri asked this question? And that was the question I was looking for. I was like, I sure hope somebody asked that question. Yes, Zuri, thank you. Is she on the call? Is she on here? Zuri, I have, yay. Thank you. Because I was like, ooh, I could pull out my board. I was so excited. So doing your breast self-exams, there are things that you want to look for. You want to look for dimpling. You want to look for, like, if your breasts look like they kind of got like ridges or dimples in it. Okay. So don't laugh at my boob, y'all. I'm going to show it to you, okay? But normally when people are in front of me, it's a little different because it's taped down on the board. But this is your boob, okay? So dimpling, I'm going to kind of simulate it a little bit. The dimpling may look kind of like, oh yeah, there we go. So you may have some dimpling that kind of looks like this. See how this looks like a little wrinkly? And this is extreme. But it may look like that. Or you may actually have something that's like really pressed in. See, most people think their breasts look nice and smooth like this, but it really isn't. Your breast is so dense. And then you may have some like ridging down here, what we call veining. It looks like a big vein is running across the front of your breast. You want to pay attention to that. If your breasts are itchy and scaly and they look kind of red on the surface, that's something you want to keep an eye on. If your breasts have like warm spots to them, like one part of the breast feels warmer than the other, that's something you want to keep an eye on. Now, if it's a one-time thing and you're not seeing it anymore, okay. But if between your cycles, there's a significant and substantive change, like for me, I felt it but kind of shrugged it off. And then after the next cycle, it was like, it was this size, then yeah, you need to get to the doctor right away. So it's really key that you do that. And so I am going to walk you through, wait a minute, I want to make sure I answer all the questions. How early should women get tested? 40 is starting to seem a little late. 40 is starting to seem late because you're seeing more statistics. You're seeing more people come out, talk about women that are dying from breast cancer, or the disease is so far gone by the time they get there. And keep in mind is what I said, a lot of it is like, we're not really represented in the medical community. There aren't a lot of Black oncologists out there. There are not a lot of Black doctors that are versed in this area. And we're not really part of the clinical trials, be it for breast cancer or any type of medication. You see all these great commercials on TV. Some of you may have seen the commercial about Neulasta, which is this little pump this lady was saying, like she don't have to go back after chemo to get a shot. I was part of that clinical trial, but I had to go back the next day. I would have loved to have had that pump because I could have stayed home and rested. But that was actually some of the feedback that we gave. So I was excited to see that had gone further. But we've got to participate in these clinical trials for these medications and therapies. We're just not represented. And so that's some of the things that we're pushing to get providers to be more open about, to talk with us about, and not feel put off when we ask questions about, well, what does it mean? What will I do? How would I feel? A lot of providers tend to shut down when we begin to ask questions, because y'all know as Black women, we are curious and we don't play when it comes to our body. We want to know what's it gonna do? What I gotta do? Mm-hmm. And if you can't answer it, we don't want to be bothered. So that's where we gotta kind of bridge that gap. But the ACOG, which is American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, recommends age 40. Oh. Now, where the conflict comes in, the American Cancer Society has adopted the U.S. Preventative Task Force rule, which says 45 or age 50 if you're low risk. Well, that's such a broad discussion, because you're like, how do you know if I'm at risk or low risk? You don't. And one of the ways that you can be more educated about it and understand your risk so that you're not so confused is to do your monthly breast self-exams. Most breast cancer survivors will tell you, I found the lump myself. Mm-hmm. Most of the diagnosis is because you found the lump. And that was the case for me, and pretty much the majority of the girls in my network, in my circle, and those of us that are advocate with all our own detection by doing our monthly breast self-exam. So that's something you will never hear us tell you not to do. So you want to make sure you do that. And the timing of it really is like, you want to wait until after your cycle, because when you're on your cycle, for those of you that are still having it, your breast tissue changes anyway. So you want that to get back to its what they call a normal state or a resting state. So you want to make sure you do that. And even if you're not having your cycle, if you're like me, one of the side effects of chemo is that it robbed me of fertility. So I have been in chemo-induced menopause since I started chemo. So yeah, it's a whole nother conversation. So when I tell you there are physical, social, and emotional effects to this, and this is something we could talk about for a long time.
I have a couple of questions, just so we won't get too far. Okay, so the first question was, what is the difference in ridging and dimpling? Is it the feel of it? Alicia wanted to know.
So it's not much difference. Trying to see if I got it. See, I have my trusty little education board that I take with me, and I was so excited when Zuri asked that question. Oh. I'm gonna pull it out, see if I can give y'all some visuals here. So I might have to cover up. Can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm. Can y'all see it? Okay.
Okay, so these are some of the signs when we talk about like a lump or dimpling. So you see how on the dimpling picture, the breast looks a little inverted. And then you have what they call puckering. So that could be close to like some of the ridges that you see. Let's see what else. Redness, of course, it might look like a rash or something like that, or any unusual changes in your breast. So like if it looks like your nipple looks like it's inverted or changing, you want to, can you guys see that? I'm trying to get it a little bit closer for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the dimpling, and I know these are illustrations, but this has been a very powerful tool with me when I'm out talking to different groups and things. So I was so excited to pull this out. So thank you, Zuri, for asking that question. And it's, you might have some discoloration. It just depends, because your breast. Now this one right here, I like, because it talks about the lymph nodes, right here where my little fingers are. Your lymph nodes are in your armpit. So sometimes you may see like some swelling in this area. You want to have that checked as well.
And I had mine here. Like I found mine right here. It was on the side. It was like
yes. So
I found my own.
My scar is, I can't really, let me see, let me angle this around here. Boy, y'all got me working tonight. So my scar is like right here.
Oh, that's
right here are smaller than what they used to be. But I earned it. So my scar is like right here. So as I'm doing my monthly exam, I have to remember that that's my scar tissue. Sometimes I'll get freak out, be like, oh my God. And then I go, oh yeah, that's the scar tissue. And then I laugh at myself.
Yeah, mine is right there. Mine is on the side. It's almost on the side. It's like right over.
Most women, most of the time, most women will find that it expresses itself like in this area, in the lower area, or somewhere around here where a lot of your milk ducts are. So that's why it's really important when you do your breast self-examiner, and we actually gonna do one together tonight.
That was the next question.
Yeah, because Carla, I totally forgot I did that demonstration.
I'm serious about this. And you know what, Vonda, to segue to what you just said, like when you showed me, my mom just showed me where they removed hers. And it's exactly what you said. Her first one is right here, right there, and her second one is right there. Exactly spot on what you just said.
So I'm gonna take this little thing off. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is the back of my little thing that I use when I'm doing my demonstrations. But you can see I have like little tabs in here, and so as people are trying to figure out where the lump is, it moves around. So like your lump can move around inside your breast too. But if you notice down here where it kind of looks like sugar cubes, this mimics breast density. And if you notice, there are two little bumps in here. And these are the hardest for people to find when they're sitting with me. So you guys are lucky because I'm kind of cheating and showing you where the stuff is. But a lot of times when we're doing our demonstrations, we'll pull this out so that people can actually sense. And if you see, even as I'm trying to squeeze it, you see how it's moving around inside?
Wow.
It's very difficult. So what I tell people about breast density, if the next time it's a beautiful, clear day and you look up and you see how you see like a cluster of clouds together and they look almost pure white, and then it's like blue space next to it, that's almost like breast density. Does that make sense? So that's why it's important for you to know. So
before you do that, Vonda, I had another question here. It says, is pain a typical side effect?
Of?
I guess of breast cancer, right, LaDanya?
Of chemo?
No, I think LaDanya,
yeah, because Vonda, you said you woke up in extreme pain. Is pain typical?
So the pain is typical when you're dealing with chemo, but I had the most aggressive form of chemotherapy. I had, my regimen was ACT, girl. All I know is that T is what did it. It's the Taxol or Taxotere. So most people, if they're telling you they're taking ACT, the Taxol or the Taxotere drug is the most difficult because it causes bone pain. So I was only sleeping in like 15-minute intervals. Like I go to sleep for 15 minutes, wake up crying because I couldn't move. I was in so much pain. I didn't know what was going on. So unfortunately, because of my diagnosis and because with triple negative, you have to treat it very rapidly and aggressively because it's a very aggressive expressing type of breast cancer. They wanted to lower my dosage, but they couldn't guarantee results. I was like, you're going to lower it because I got to go to sleep. I can't function. And it, after a while, you start to own who you are. One thing this process taught me is that I'm a lot stronger than I realized. And it gave me a little bit more awareness of who I am and how I want to be defined. And I just didn't want the cancer to make that definition. You follow what I'm saying? Because I'm like, mm-mm. So tell me all the stats. That's great. May not hear everything because one, you can't take in everything. And one thing I can tell you, I still have some side effects that are probably going to be long term. Like I have nerve damage in my hands and my feet. It's referred to as peripheral neuropathy. So most people that are diabetic have the same issue. So like if I can't do extreme cold, my hands cannot sometimes distinguish from extreme cold and extreme heat. So I have to be very careful. Or if I'm up on my feet too long, I can't feel my toes at all when I'm walking. So that may cause me to stumble. So things like that. But I'm like, if that's what I got to deal with and still be here, I'll take it. I'll take one for the team. So that's kind of where that is. And the one thing I do want to say is people always ask me sometimes, Vonda, how come we don't have a cure yet? It's 2019. And I said, well, how come we don't have another you yet? Is usually my response. And they're like, what do you mean by that? Breast cancer, the reason the cure is so difficult is because breast cancer, we may both have triple negative, but just like we both have different fingerprints, triple negative has a different print for me than it does for the next person. And the same thing, whether it's whether you're ER/PR positive, it may be different for Jane Doe than it is for Sally Sue. It could be the exact same diagnosis, but very different. So we're all just unique beings, and it's just very difficult to treat. It's not like a flu shot. It's like, yeah, okay, great, here you go. It doesn't work that way. And sometimes, unfortunately, if it does recur, like they tell me that because of this type, my chances of it recurring as a newer cancer are greater, but I don't accept that. They tell me that I'm in what they call NED, which is a no evidence of disease. And I tell my doctor, we're going to stay that way. So I'll see you in 6 months, which my appointments are coming up in a couple of weeks. So one thing I can tell you they're going to tell me is to lose more weight. And as Black women, we got to do better about that. That weight is a big deal, especially belly fat. And one thing I can tell you is cancer feeds off of stress. I had a very stressful job. I know that contributed to it. You know, dad was sick. That contributed to it. So, I mean, I think there's some environmental things that are at play too with cancer or any type of cancer. You just don't know. And I think you have to really be mindful of your environment, what you're eating, what you're putting into your body, what you're doing. So to that question, I think somebody asked me, was there like a diet? Oh, I see a note here. Yeah, if there was a diet or something you could do to prevent it? No, because I know somebody that's vegan and she had her diagnosis was a lot more grave than mine. Same thing, no family history and a vegan. I'm like, what? It was mind blowing. She doesn't eat meat. She doesn't eat sugar, starches, nothing. And she's, I think she's like she's like 2 years out right now. So she and I communicate. If some of you are on my Facebook page, you'll see her. She just posted about, you'd be surprised people do fat shaming. People will food shame a breast cancer survivor in a minute. You gonna eat that after what you've been through? Yep, I'm gonna go to Chick-fil-A and get my little nuggets and my cookie, and don't judge me. Because that's what I want at the moment. But it's all about portion control. You know, you want to get moving, get active, and try to get that weight off. And I know for me, my next appointment is that they're going to tell me they're probably going to want me to drop another 30 pounds. I know that. So I'll do what I got to do to make it happen because I don't want to go down that road again.
I have a question.
Yeah, what was the question?
I have a question.
Sure.
Sometimes, well, not often, I might wake up and I have to me, it either looks like a scratch or a whelp, like coming across.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you might go to sleep and you wake up and like, well, what the hell, was I fighting in my sleep or something?
Yeah.
Is that something I should worry about with that discoloration of that one?
If you've seen it consistently month over month and it looks different, Like if it's getting broader or wider, then yeah, you might just want to say, hey doc, just kind of check this out. That's what they call veining. And so you may want to have that checked out. I had some of that too as well.
Yeah, because I'd be like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing while I sleep, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be scratching myself or
You're like, whoa, what's going on? Yeah, but yeah, if you've seen it, like they say, typically they say if you see it from one cycle to the next, or what I say is even if you're not having your cycle, I still check my breast around the same time every month. It's just something that I do. But if you're noticing it month over month, then yeah, you wanna get that checked.
I do have an appointment tomorrow.
Outstanding. And if you need to ping me. I've listened. I've sat in on doctor's appointments. I've coached people through doctor's appointments, told them, nope, ask this, and make sure the doctor answers you with either this or this.
Oh, very good.
So, yeah.
I looked up too because I just called Monday and got the appointment for tomorrow.
Oh, that's awesome.
I never got it that quick.
That's awesome. Oh, Shanae said, what is the ping? Oh, Pete, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm talking to y'all like I'm at work because this is how I talk to my clients at work. When my coworkers are sitting on the other side of the world or the building, I'll be like, just ping me. I'll answer. My bad. Let me take off my work speak. You can send me a message and I'm gonna give you guys my contact information towards the end. But I want to make sure if I answered did I answer all the questions that were posted, Carla? I think. And I hope I didn't want to overwhelm you guys with a lot of statistical data. I wanted to make sure I got.
I have one on there about that.
The BRCA, yes. Thank you, Ms.
Does it have to run in the family or can anybody take it?
So typically they won't start talking to you about BRCA testing until either you've presented with a possible case until they confirm a case with you, or if you are what we call that first line relative. So like in my case, I had the genetics test and then my sister had it done. Now we're 7 years apart in age, but because I was diagnosed, I went through the genetics testing, and my sister in turn, because I'm considered a first line relative, so she went and had the genetics testing. And the ironic part, both of our results are identical. No family history, no traces of the genes. So again, we're part of that anomaly that a lot of medical research is still trying to figure out. You know, Black women, we just don't really fit the box of the statistics. So that's why we have to be more vocal. And that's why a lot of us are doing work to stay in front of organizations like American Cancer Society and Komen to let them know, no, you cannot put this type of data out about Black women, and here's why. Somebody else just sent a quick question. I apologize, I didn't see it.
Yeah, can piercing put you at a higher risk? Like let me find out, Imani. Piercing, like nipple piercing. Where Imani is? Imani is, you're getting freaky now. Let me find out. She got her camera off too.
I have not seen any.
Can piercing, let me see, because I got a belly button here trying to be sexy. I'm just trying to figure out what happened.
Listen, I'm not trying to scare nobody on this call. Be like, Lord, I can't get a pierce. I can't get a tat. I can't
breathe.
I can't get felt up. What is happening?
What has happened to our sexy? Now, wait a minute. So, Imani, like nipple pierce. I don't know what kind of pierce Imani got.
I have not seen any evidence that speaks to piercing or tattoos. Now, like for me, because I was treated on the right side, I cannot get blood pressure, needle sticks or injections, bee stings, cuts, burns, or anything in my right arm, because that puts me at risk for lymphedema. Because once you've had lymph nodes removed, you're at risk for lymphedema. So when I fly, I have a compression sleeve that I wear. I put it on an hour before my flight, and I take it off 2 hours after a flight. If I'm working out, i.e. vacuuming, doing things like that, like I'm not allowed to carry a purse on that side, because ladies, our purses weigh anywhere from 6 to 10 pounds, and some people's purses weigh more than that. Just don't just keep looking straight. Just keep looking straight, and that's your purse. So I can't carry. items or things like that on my right side, because I'll be at risk for lymphedema. So there's a lot that goes with it. That's why I said it's such a very physical, emotional, and social disease, especially with women who are single. It puts it in you're still of what they call childbearing or maternal age, and you haven't had children. The first thing they want to do is talk to you about fertility. I'm like, hello, cancer is eating up my body. I ain't got time to be talking about no eggs. Because just as an aside, the insurance company will not pay for you to do to freeze your eggs before treatment, and then when you're doing that, you cannot proceed with any of your treatment when you're doing your harvesting for your fertility.
And I had started to cut you off on. We did an event for a young lady who she was pregnant. She found out. You guys probably saw it that I did this big event. Well, you know, Rhonda.
Yep.
But she found out after she had, right, Rhonda? She found out after she had she found out she had cancer or pregnant first. Which one? She found out she had cancer.
She's pregnant.
Okay, she was pregnant. Then she found out she had breast cancer. Mm-hmm. So she had to make a decision whether because she can't have treatment and have the baby. So she made a decision to have the baby, and now she's been in treatment, right? How long has she been I hooked her and Rhonda up.
She just did her 3rd round of chemo.
Yeah, so her baby is how much? So her baby's what, 3 months, maybe?
Almost 4 months.
Almost 4 months. So she decided to have her baby, and then the chemo after that. So here's another question. How would someone, Zora, she's amazing, and she's amazing. So you should follow her. Ivana will give you all her story is crazy amazing. How would someone, and guess what? The reason that we know her, right? I did an event with her. It was kind of, we all came in the community to give her, like an event, like something. We all came together, money, clothes, for the baby, everything. But the reason that none of us knew her is because she put on social media, she was asking a lot of questions. I'm pregnant and I have cancer, breast cancer. Can anybody help me? And that's how we found her. And we gave her this big event. It was like people came from all over to like pour into her. And so now we follow her story. So she lives in Upper Marlboro where I live, but I know her personally because I was in with her, but I didn't know her before. So another question, how would someone with breast implants be able to detect with a self-exam? Yeah, that's
you can, it's going to be a little tough. Yeah, yes, that is her name. Deshania, I think I'm saying it right, Pearson, that is her name, yes. You can, what you want to do is get with your, when you had them put in, they should have talked to you about that. If not, there is a young lady in my group. She's getting ready to have hers removed though, but I will ask her for you.
I don't have the implants, but I got a friend, right, who has.
No wonder Sophie got them C's and D's and T's. She over there padded up, jailed up.
No, for real. I have a friend who has implants, and then she always used to have a sharp pain in her chest all the time. Right now, I was like, go to the doctor, because it would always happen often. And I was just, that was the first thing that triggered me. I was like, how would you know if something's wrong? Because you can't feel.
That's a sign that the implant could be shifting or what have you. And guys, I'm gonna say, I'm not a doctor, even though it sounds like I am. I do my research. Because I want to know. It's kind of like the word says, study to show yourself approved, and let every man's word be a lie. Establish it for yourself. So I'm like, okay, I hear you. Let me go find out what this really means. And so a lot of it is because I'm sitting at the table with people who are way smarter than me, and I want to understand what the heck they're saying, so that when it comes down to, and they ask me, say, well, what do you think we should tell women like you? Well, first of all, tell it to me where I can understand it. That's always my response. And they seem to be so shocked. I'm like, you're talking way up here. And that's why I said it's okay to tell your doctor, time out, I don't understand what you're saying.
And I had a friend she wasn't a friend, but I knew her, and she was having chest pains, like Vonda said. She had implants. Mm-hmm. She finally went to the doctor. She was 30, I think she was either 36 or 39 or 35. She went to the doctor because her chest pains became excruciating.
Yep.
I mean, excruciating. Come to find out she had stage 4 breast cancer and she passed in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
She had, because I don't know if she wasn't checking them, but she was 30 between 35 and 39, and she had them.
And to your point, Carla, that's why I said, and before we go, I'm going to show you guys how to do your BSE. If you aren't doing, I'm going to give you some quick tips on how to do it. Because again, with Black women, and it's just like with Black women and heart disease, those signs and symptoms often get crossed over. So chest pain, sometimes they'll think, oh, they'll rule you out for heart attack or a cardiac event. But it was that type of chest pain that got my attention to pay attention to, hey, girl, you felt this last month. Now I want to make sure you're really paying attention. And I think for me, had I not had that flash of chest pain like I did, I probably would have waited another month, and I probably would have been more advanced in my diagnosis. So that's why I'm not ashamed to tell you guys that I did ignore some of the very signs that I shared with you tonight. I ignored them because I was like, they said I got dense breasts, but not understanding what that really meant and the magnitude of what that means when there's a change to your breast so that you can pursue it.
Yeah, and I tell you, I told Vonda this, and this is so like true, it just happened to my mom. When I was in Hampton, and I was just sitting down like I'm sitting down now, and my mom said, oh, let me show you this picture of whatever. And she did like this, and she stopped. I didn't say anything the first time. She just simply got up, y'all, like this, and she stopped, and she just held. So I thought, that's kind of weird. I mean, she ain't had nothing in her hand or nothing. So when she came back to show me, I was watching it close. She came back to show me, okay, this is the picture. Mm-hmm. Then she moved to go turn, to go back and sit down. She said, and stop. I said, wait a minute, well, what's wrong? She said, I don't know, I think I got a hernia or something right there.
Yeah, you can't get a hernia.
Because I'll go to the doctor on Tuesday, simple pain. And then so today she tells me it was excruciating. And when she did like this, I was like, well, I wonder why she did that. It caught my eye to ask her. And she did it again, but just for standing up. And it caught her. And she told me that, because you wouldn't think this means breast cancer. That's all she did was like that.
Yeah, and like I told you guys, when it happened to me, I was laying down trying to get out of bed and had the same thing, thinking, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. I'm too young to be having a heart attack. Never in my mind did I think the breast is the pain in the chest or the breast. It could be both. Mine went from felt like it started like right at the front of the nipple and shot around my back and stopped in my chest. And it just kept doing it. And then eventually it felt like it was all in the middle of my chest. And so that's what made me jump up out the bed like a mad woman and say, okay, something ain't right.
The reason why I ask is because, I have to get my checks every 6 months to a year. And I have what they call spontaneous fibrosis cyst. So I can have like a lump over here. It could be gone. It'll come over here. But they call me the rock queen because I have so many lumps and dents. But every now and again, and I know I get my checks, but every now and again, I don't know. They say it's like in the tear duct kind of area, like this shooting pain in the boob. You're just like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then it goes away. But I just had my check, I think in June or July. So that's why I was wondering, like, is it the chest or like I get the shooting pains in the breast, but I've had a couple biopsies and they all come back okay.
Negative.
But it's kind of like, I don't know if that's part of the side effect of me having all the stuff going on or the nerves or whatever, but I mainly get it in the right. And that's the side that I had to buy out. Both of them on was the right breast. That's I'm like, I still get the little shooting, and sometimes it catches you off guard. But
I'm not surprised that you said the right breast. And what's weird is that most of the women that I've met, particularly Black women, all of our diagnoses have been on the right side of the body. And that's something I'm really intrigued by. So because I'm not a doctor or a clinical person, I can't launch a research study about that. But that's my goal, is to partner with a provider that is willing to take that on, because particularly here in the Washington, D.C. area, the breast cancer incidence rate is staggering. And most of the women that are dying from it are women like us that are on this call tonight. The majority of us have insurance, we have jobs, and we're dying. And that's not acceptable to me. And so it's my goal to continue to disrupt that disparity and make people stop and take notice and start paying attention to us a little bit earlier. But yeah, probably what they'll do if you're still experiencing that, ask them to do a breast MRI.
Because normally they said I'm not due for a mammogram. Well, whatever has changed, I don't know if it's been so long. So they say I don't get the mammogram until I got to get my papers either next year or the year after that. So they've been doing the ultrasounds, and I forgot the other. It's like a mammogram, but I'm not getting my boob squished. It's whatever it is.
You're talking about when you lay on the table?
Yes.
So the thing me and Shanae are talking about laying on the table, y'all, this thing is weird. Think of a table that has 2 holes cut out in the middle, and you just lay down like this and your boobs are hanging down through these 2 holes. And they run this little wire that looks like a cat hair through your boob to check to make sure that it's actually clear. So these are all the little funny things. It's not funny when it's happening, but it's kind of like, oh girl, yeah, you had to lay on the table. But if you're still experiencing that, Shanae, I would almost ask them to do a breast MRI just to make sure that it's still it's what they call a fibroadenoma, where it just kind of continues to materialize even though it's nothing. It doesn't hurt to ask for an MRI. And now I'm gonna warn you, the MRI is uncomfortable because you have to lay on this coil flat in the machine for about 45 minutes to an hour, but it'll give them a clear picture. Did I answer all the questions? I feel like I've been talking too much. I'm not overwhelming you guys, am I? That's the one thing I didn't want to do. Nobody's overwhelmed, right? I can't see her. Okay. Is this helping? Is it got you curious? You guys promised me.
Yeah, I was stressed out, curious, and everything. I'm over here like fan trying to eat ice, trying to figure out if my chest hurt last year or if it didn't hurt. If everything feel like it hurt now, I feel like I got 15 lumps. I got chest pains, back pains. I don't know what's happening.
So if you see me post on Facebook Saturday, and I had to take Carla to Chickasee to get her life.
Listen, I'm gonna be stressed out. Listen, as you all been talking, I sent my brother to my mom's house because when you were talking, she said I had talked to her before. No, when y'all saw me reach over for the phone, she called me. That's what it was her, and she said she was having this shooting pain in her back, and that's when the same time you were saying that it went from your front to your back.
Yeah.
So I would go over there. So she was saying she was laying on ice. So
she probably if it's still going on, it's okay to take her in.
Yeah, I told him to go over there. I said go over there right now. So he just texted me. He said he's there. I told him to let me know because I can roll out tonight.
Yeah, just check on her. If it's still happening, I would say just go ahead and take her to the ER. And have her evaluate. Not to scare you, but just go ahead and have her evaluated.
Yeah, he said he's with her, so I'm going to wait for him to text me back before I make a rollout.
And this type of interaction right here, these are the conversations that happen a lot of times when I'm out with other groups and giving talks. Something will happen and we just start, okay, yep, do this. We start making calls. We have young ladies in our group that we have done their entire Christmas for their kids because they just don't have the energy to do anything. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we do, a lot of resources in the community. I've called doctors like, I need you to see this person because they need a second opinion. They need to be comfortable about what they're hearing and what they're being told. So we have a very extensive network. Some of us work for different organizations. Some of us have come together under my soon-to-be organization, which I'm excited about. So, but we still keep those resources intact. So there's a lot of avenues that we can explore depending on what the person's needs are.
Okay. So we're at time. So if you want to show us, it's 10. So we're like 7 minutes over.
Yeah, I apologize.
You want to show us, and then I don't know if you all have to go, you can. If you want to show us how to do it and maybe take a couple questions, they're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, everybody, this is where we're going to stretch. Look, everybody kind of needs you to sit on the edge of your seat. Carla already starting because
I'm stressed out. I don't know, my
pressed.
back and neck, everything
She
hurts.
is so pressed for me to show y'all this. I don't know if y'all can y'all see me? Okay.
We can see you, but we can't see what we're supposed to do. We can't see your double D's down there. It just look like nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I can't.
These are triples.
Oh, triples. We can't see. You're going to get a man. They're going to get excited about them.
Okay. Long story short of it, I was a 42C when I was diagnosed, and now I'm a 38 triple D.
38 triple what?
Triple D.
You're going to get a few men.
Which is basically a 40 double D now. So.
Oh, Monty, hold on. We got something. Because I've seen Vaughn do this. I did it already. I'm excited to do this, Zuri. Hey, Carly. Hi.
Zuri,
like, you know how it's crazy whatever you focus on expands. Like, I'm thinking I got like 20 lumps. My back does not hurt all day. It is
I don't know if y'all can really see me, but I'm going to put it. And y'all, excuse me, this is my congressional women's softball game that I go to every year with Young Survival Coalition. So we all get t-shirts and go out on the field with all the senators and stuff like that. So I'm going to change my screen. Everybody on the edge of their seats now. Don't look at my fat rolls, y'all. Okay. So this is what you do. Now we all get in the shower. We all look at ourselves. Who don't look at themselves when they get ready to get in or out the shower? Yeah, I was gonna say, ain't no vampires on this call, so we should be good. So the first thing you want to do is put your hands on your hips. And your shoulders are even, right? So you see how my shoulders are even. And the first thing you want to do, you want to just kind of look at your breasts in terms of symmetry. Do they look the same? Again, it's better to do this before you get in the shower or after you get out of the shower, whichever way you choose. So you want to make sure that they kind of look the same. Look for any changes. Look at the skin, look at the nipple, look at everything. Then you kind of want to arch your shoulders back a little bit. And just, again, you're checking for symmetry. Do they look the same? Are they the same shape, same size? And a little bit, you can tell that this is my breast that I was treated on. So that's why this one is sitting back a little bit further. All right, so then once you do that, then you're gonna raise your hands over your head.
I think mine look crooked. I don't know if it's a shirt or if I'm just like tripping. Okay.
Clasp your hands at the top. And same thing. So as you can see, if you guys notice, like this side, you see how this side is higher? That's the side I was treated on. So of course, I always zoom in on that first. But again, pretty much you're looking for, do they kind of look the same? You know, you can turn to the side and look or what have you. You can do the same thing. Then when you get in the shower, you're going to check your breast, and you're going to use your right hand to check your left breast, but you're going to use these two fingers here. Okay. So essentially, if you do this move, okay, and then you're going to start at the top and you're going to go in a circular motion. And you're going to go all the way around the breast, even up underneath. And you're going to continue to go all the way around, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around. The key is, as you're doing this, like right now, like what I want you to do is just kind of go to the fuller part of your breast over here. And with those two fingers, the way that you can tell that you're using the right amount of pressure, if you push down, you should be able to feel your rib cage. Can everybody feel their rib cage? Can you feel your rib cage a little bit? It's just like shaking it. So that's the amount of pressure you want to do each time as you're going in a circular motion around the breast. So you use your right hand for the left breast, the left hand for the right breast. That's if you're in the shower. If you're not going to do it in the shower, you want to lay down and do the same thing. But if you're laying down, then this arm goes behind your head. So that way you're stretching the tissue. And the key thing is you still have to check in these areas here. Mm-hmm. So you still want to make sure you get within the underarm area and under the breast. So the way you think about your breast, you think about your breast in 3 zones, if you will. You have the outside, which is near the chest wall, and you have the upper half, and then you have the lower half. And so those are the areas that you want to make sure you check. Again, it's this Your hands are pretty much in this position, and you want to make sure that you press down enough so that you get to that chest area. The easiest way I tell you to get started with this, again, do your views in the mirror, okay? And then when you get in the shower, you're all nice and soapy, you're gonna raise this arm, and then you're gonna go in, and then you're gonna do your checks, circular motions. And let me show you here. See, I got some pictures. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so Keisha said it hurts. She said that hurts. So maybe she was pushing.
Not because you're not used to doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the motion that we recommend that you do. Now, some doctors will do it in this up and down pattern. This is a little harder, and this is harder, doing the pie. We're still going in a circular motion, but you see how here, if this was the breast, we're starting on the outside, circular motions, pressing down, and you're gonna go all the way around, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around to the nipple area. So that's really important that you do that. And you wanna do this once a month. Try to do it the same time each month. You wanna wait until after your cycle. If you're still menstruating, wait until after your cycle, usually a couple of days before you do it. So that's just some examples. And this is, hope no one's offended by the boobs. I couldn't, get one where there was a sister in it, but this is the position the first position that we took, where you have your hands on your shoulder, hands on your hips, and raising your hands, you're standing and looking. And this, as you can see, demonstrating it once you're in the shower. This is the one that is the most helpful for people each month in the shower. It's a little bit easier versus if you're laying down. If you're laying down, you see how she has a towel underneath her chest, because that pushes the chest wall up, so then the breast lays flat. So you want to make sure that if you are laying down, you need to have a towel or something propped under you. But most people find between this method, your visual observation in the mirror and then in the shower, to be the easiest to do each month.
Okay, so Zori wants to know, what are the 3 areas of the breast to check again?
So your breast is divided into 3 areas. So this side here, which is the side wall. Then you have the top half of the breast, and then you have the lower half. And it's really important that you get up under here. This under here will probably feel like what some people say, it feels lumpy or tough. That is the more tougher part of the tissue of the breast. So that's where you have to really work as you're applying that pressure and going through to make sure that you are checking and noticing any differences that you do notice. Now, if you live in the state of Maryland, whenever you go for a mammogram and you get your letter back, they are required by law to tell you that you have dense breasts. It's called a breast density law, and I think it's on the books in Maryland and in Virginia. It's not on the books in DC yet, but they're required by law to tell you that you have dense breasts, because breast density can mask tumors, as you guys saw in this demo that I have here. As you can see where it's a little fuller in the back here. So that tumor would be hidden. If you have breast density, it's a little hard to see. So that's why we recommend that you do 3D mammograms. And in some instances, if they still can't get a good picture with a 3D, they'll send you for an MRI.
Yeah, so question, my doctor, my gynecologist, he's not practicing now, but he told me I had to check myself. He said I would drive myself crazy because I was going like every 2 weeks, making an appointment. I said, I think I felt something. And then he told me, please don't come back.
They'd be like, oh my God, here she comes.
I was going every 2 weeks. I said, I think I felt something.
It is quite overwhelming. Anytime that we have to take onus for our own care, it is very overwhelming.
So I went because they told me I didn't have to have mine removed because I found it. And it only hurt by my cycle. I can tell, like if you hit it, it used to be so painful. Yeah. So he said, I can tell by the way it springs, because remember it's all the way over here, that you never have to get it removed. I said, no, I'm requesting to have it removed. It was pretty painful. I requested. But it was pretty painful. Like my mom said hers wasn't. Like she went in Tuesday, she said Wednesday she had no pain. I had pain for like 3 weeks. So mine wasn't a cyst, it was a tumor.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it's right here. But sometimes once you're aware of it,
That's what I mean.
your awareness gets so heightened, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's how I am. So hers, she said no pain. The next day they removed them, and she said they told her to take Tylenol for the pain. And that's it. And me, I was like this sleeping. I just thought my life ended, and it was like a 2-week recovery.
It can be very overwhelming. And the one thing I want to say to all of you on here, you've already taken the first bold step towards being empowered over your own care. You have to advocate for yourself. And this is a very tough conversation to have. And sometimes it's hard to have it with your doctor. But the one thing, I definitely don't want anybody to walk away from this conversation feeling overwhelmed, because that definitely wasn't my purpose in sharing with you tonight. I know that a lot of these questions are very good questions. These are questions that I get a lot. And it's just because it encourages me even more to, when I'm talking to providers, to let them know, you got to change the conversation. You got to be able to meet us where we are. And sometimes we just have these questions and we just don't know. And so I want you to be encouraged. And one thing that I tell all the ladies is, girl, no matter what, you got this. You already got this. Because now you got the information. And see, once you got the information, you're armed, you're empowered. That makes you a more valuable person.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you can start advocating for yourself, baby, the rest is a cakewalk.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is a cakewalk. And so, like I said, for tonight, I wanted to share that with you all. And I want to thank you all for being in this group. And because I've been part of this group, I am pulling the trigger to launch my own nonprofit. And I'm starting it with some of the other girls that I've met along the way in this journey. Some of us met in chemo, and we are still tight as ever. I was formerly the president for a national breast cancer organization called Sisters Network. I was the former president for the DC metro area. I have since resigned from that organization, and I'm starting my own nonprofit. And it is called Bella Warrior, because we are all beautiful warriors in this fight. And my mantra for Bella Warrior is to be your bold, beautiful, and empowered self throughout this whole process. And so if you want to find out more about what we're doing, we are in the process of launching the 501(c)(3). We're not quite done with all our paperwork. And one thing Carla will tell you, I don't play when it comes to that 501(c)(3) paperwork. I like for my stuff to be in order. But I definitely want you to go. If you want to learn a little bit more about what we're doing, our site is bellawarrior.org. So that's BELLA warrior, WARRIOR.org. Or you can email me at info@bellawarrior.org. And at Facebook, you can tag me at thebellawarrior.org. So all of our social media handles are at thebellawarrior.org. For transparency, there's nothing on Instagram and Twitter yet because we just set the account up. But someone is there. That email is constantly monitored, and they can get a hold of me right away. Or if you guys just want to send me a direct message on Facebook, it's just Vonda Jones on Facebook, or either here in the group, you can direct message me. Whatever.
I have a question here. Does the men do the same self-exam, or is it different for them?
It's the same.
Same.
It is the same. The breast tissue, the overall biological of the breast is the same. It's just that the difference with women, we have mammary glands, so we can make milk. Men can't. But if you take away the mammary glands, the overall biological composition of the breast is the same.
When is the best time to check yourself during the month when you have no more cycle?
When you don't have a cycle? So pick a day.
Okay.
Pick a day. Like for me and some of the other girls in the group, because we're chemo-induced menopause, we may still have some of the premenopausal symptoms sometimes. So we kind of have been using that as a guide, but I kind of remember when my cycles occur. It's been so long. I kind of remember when they used to come, so I just kind of stick with that. For me, that's what works. But just pick a day. Sometimes some of us in the group will post a note, okay, it's the 10th, time to touch the tatas or something like that. So trust me, there's so many comical things I can tell you guys about this that I've learned to laugh at through this process. But I'm just grateful to be able to share, and I just hope that whatever I've shared with you has either answered some of your questions and removed some of the fear, because one of the things that we don't want women to do, particularly Black women, we don't want you to go through this alone. We don't want you to go through this in silence. It's just like it says, 1 in 8 of us will be diagnosed with this disease. And there's too many of us that have been through it to help you walk through this a lot easier. Even though it may not feel that way, but there's no need to go through it alone. So we want to break that silence, and we want to disrupt some of the disparities in care and make sure that we're getting the same attention.
Thank you. Great.
All right. Well, thanks, Vonda. You were amazing. Let's give it up for Vonda. You were freaking amazing, Vonda, which I knew you was. Ladies, I wanted to do something. I love this group, and just pouring into women that we can have a secure place. I mean, we would have never done self-exams on Facebook Live. Never.
No, I wouldn't do it on Facebook Live.
We would have never done this. I would have been poking out, but I've seen Vonda do it before. And so we're excited and honored to have such an amazing person, on here. And of course, I sent my brother to my mom's, and he brought her Wendy's. He said she's fine. We're talking. I'm thinking, okay. Anyway, I'll go there tomorrow. She shouldn't have Wendy's, but anyway, he did it. So
no judgment.
So I'll see you in Hampton this weekend. I'll be there for sure.
I'll be there.
I'll be there this weekend. But also, what I want you ladies to do, I want you all to, at the end, we're finished. I want you all to just share a tip tonight that Vonda gave us on your personal page. You can use her thing with the that's my favorite one, to show something with breast cancer, her with the mittens, right, Vonda?
Carla loves that picture.
Yeah, I love that picture. So just share a tip, and Vonda, so they can if they were to share a tip, could they hashtag or have people for more info go to info@bellawarrior.org? Is that something that they
info@bellawarrior.org.
So Bella, Bella.
Bella.
So info@bellawarrior, WARRIOR.
Yep.
.org.
Yep.
Okay, so if you can type it in, and I just want you all to share a tip that you learned tonight. You can use Vonda's picture. That's what I'm going to do, but you guys don't have to do it. I love it. Just share a tip to help people that don't know. This again is breast cancer awareness, and it's each one reaching one. And so we're honored to have such an amazing person that I knew that she would be great. And I'm thinking, Vonda, I want you on to share with the ladies. I said, maybe November, December. She said, Carla, baby, October is breast cancer. I said, well, let's just do it in October. That's why I had her on tonight. Because she's like, well, Carla, it is breast cancer awareness. So little did I know. So we had her on tonight. We are, I'm so thankful for you and grateful that you share with us all this information. You could have just been here spectating on the line, just listening for tips. And talk tonight about finding your groove, and this is it. Getting yourself in a place where you could, know that you're someone, right? That you are unique. We're all unique, and so, like she said, the reason there's no cure is because we all are unique. Think about 7 million people, in a place where their same diagnosis could be yours, and it still could be different.
Right? Yeah, 1 in 8. I mean, just the statistics alone last year in 2016.